is the Magnet.
Hello, you're welcome to this week's edition of the MAGNATE. The MAGNATE is a program that parades professionals from diverse fields. We're going to be commencing a series on finance, specific area of finance in that space. Have you heard of ethical finance? What does it mean? Well, we've waited patiently for our MAGNATE of the week. Very busy, highly cerebral, Before I let the cat out of the bag, who am I talking about? I'm sure by the time you see him, you say, oh, kudos, thumbs up for the choice of resource person you have chosen for this series of topics on ethical finance. Let's give you the background report. Let's bring you the citation of our MAGNATE for the week. When we come back, you bet to be an interactive session. It is the MAGNATE, mentoring on television. Get set to be mentored. We'll be back shortly.
Bashir Ushudi PhD has over 2 decades of work experience in banking, real estate, and the academia. He is the chief executive of Trust Author, a fund management company, advisor of a UK Sharia-compliant real estate fund. Whilst still counting, he has set up 3 non-interest banks and windows, as well as developing ethical products across investment and corporate banking, commercial and retail banking. He was the group head, non-interest banking, Sterling Bank, from 2013 to 2020. He is a member of the Non-Interest Finance Working Group and was a member of SEC Alternative Finance Markets Master Plan Committee. Bashir was head, Non-Interest Finance and head, Research at Enhancing Financial Innovations and Assets, EFINA. He was head, Islamic Banking, Risk and Compliance at Stanbic IBTC Bank, a member of Standard Bank Group, where he also set up the non-interest banking window. He has worked both as an investment analyst and business analyst in other capacities. He obtained a master's in research, business and management from London Metropolitan University, Master of Philosophy Economics from the University of Buckingham, UK, and a PhD in Management of Innovation and Technology from Da Vinci Institute of Technology Management, Modern Fontaine, South Africa, in conjunction with Transform Center for Integral Development, Geneva. Research Fellow, Center for Integral Socioeconomic Research, Lagos, and Senior Associate, Chartered Institute of Islamic Finance Professionals, Malaysia. Bashir is a member of the International Atlantic Economic Society and American Economic Association. He has published 25 academic articles, reports, and chapters, and over 50 non-academic articles. He lectures Islamic finance, development economics, and real estate finance in universities across Africa, Europe, and the North America. Bashir is currently the president of the Non-Interest Financial Institutions Association of Nigeria, NIFIAN.
You're welcome back. You've seen the citation. You have heard the citation of our MAGNATE for the week. Very intimidating, eh? Right choice for the right topic. It's my great pleasure to welcome to the MAGNATE Dr. Bashir Ushudi. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Trust Author. After he has journeyed in different places, he has now settled down to be an entrepreneur, a Chief Executive Officer of Trust Author. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
So let's look at, first of all, the finance space. How financially literate are Nigerians?
Okay, thank you very much. Way back 2008, 2009, we had the EFINA research to look at, financial inclusion generally. We discovered from that research at that time that over 50% of Nigerians are not using the formal financial sector. Now, that then starts to give you a feel of how literate they are. But the amazing thing, the research that was done, I think about 5 years ago, shows that more people are now bankable. They're using the financial system. But the point still is, you can argue from a research perspective, if you allow me to borrow what we call phenomenology, right? That is a form of research that you experience. So on the one hand, you can put together data and come up with figures, which is fantastic. But on the other hand, you can experience research, because you are involved in it. You're directly involved. And that involvement, exactly. So if you look at phenomenology based on our own experience, you realize that I can still argue that over 90% of Nigerians are still financially non-literate. In northern part of Nigeria, it doesn't use the banks. It controls billions of naira.
Wow.
It doesn't use the banks.
How do they keep their money? I'm interested in this insecurity era.
They keep them at home.
Wow.
Yes, they can be buried, they can be in their locker, they can be under the pillow, under the mattress, but they still keep them. They have businesses, they combine businesses, so all the time they take money from this one, to support the other one. They don't still believe in the banking system. Wow. Right? So they're having Islamic finance, or if you like ethical finance or non-interest finance in the market. It's supposed to be better, but we're still having loads of gaps. That's on one. On the other hand, we try to do housing for doctors sometime, call them together, and we found out that they could not get, if you like, mortgages or finance facilities.
Because books are not kept.
Exactly. And so their earnings not show any serious evidence that they're eligible for, and we couldn't do it. Not because they're not educated, but they're financially illiterate. They're financial illiterate, if you like. And so that's what I'm talking about. So on the one hand, you can be a core illiterate and not be able to use banking system. On the other hand, you can be very, very educated, but you're unable to...
A professional.
How much more those doing MSMEs? How much more? So it means an integral part of that part of the business is to take them through the process of keeping their books. It's a challenging one. But the truth also is, even when you then convince people to be financially literate, they then want to back up in the old ways, right? So they just want to do a bit of business, So can you imagine you want a facility of, just keep it simple, maybe 1 million naira, but your banking activities is only showing 50,000, It means, meanwhile, the bulk of the money is still outside. It means that person is still not eligible. Yeah, so it's a tough thing, in Nigeria as we have it, because we're still yet to fully adopt that, if you like, banking space, regardless of religion.
Okay. Let's look at it. With the expansion in the finance sector, one would expect that the evolution that has happened in that sector would have made a lot of people very literate when you think of the number of banks, branches all over. You smile, eh?
A lot of monies are not in the banking system.
Wow.
Yes, a lot of money are not in the banking system. And that's why, in fact, Nigeria as a country shouldn't be relying on foreign direct investment, on foreign portfolios, because we have so much money in-house. But the monies are not in the formal space. And so you're unable to trap them and use them. Those monies are not producing, And so these problems are still there. And the funny thing is, even the very rich people, regardless of their profession, a lot of them also still feel, you know what? We don't want anybody to come and ask us how we got this money.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So they just have it at home. How much more those that are not very rich? I mean, of course, in Nigeria, people will go to the bank sometimes. They're, okay, I actually have 5,000 naira in the bank. They will go and say, please, I want to withdraw it. They'll withdraw it, they'll look at it and put it back.
Wow.
I mean, we also
just to be sure the money is there.
I mean, in reality, even very rich people do that too. I must confess to you. They will go and
so just
dollars.
Even checking your balance will not suffice?
No, it's not sufficient. So there's a rich man that was saying one day that wanted to feel his wealth. He went to the bank, he drew the money in dollars, said, okay, this is my money.
Not minding the bank charges, eh?
Yeah. So we still have that all over Africa. Not just Nigeria, all over Africa, yes. So research has shown that that's the behavioral pattern.
Now you have actually decided to do a lot of enlightenment, a lot of education. It really poses a challenge for you, and I wish you all the best. Well, the program is the MAGNATE, and we just said that we're going to focus on ethical finance, but we have not even started. We thought we should at least give some form of overview, some form of broader perspective on the financial space. You can see the amounts of information that has been disseminated by our own Dr. Bashir Ushudi. He's our resource person and MAGNATE for the week. Let's go for a breather. Let's find out what Oshoi has for us in the mentoring segment of this program. When we come back, let's look at the emerging trend in the finance sector, which our resource person, what I say is a MAGNATE, is an icon in. We'll be back shortly.
Hello viewers, welcome to yet another episode of our tips as regards, business men and women and doing business in the world, because this our program, like I said earlier on, it's not targeted to just Nigeria, nor is it targeted to Africa. Entrepreneurship, business development and business startups is the same the world over, whether in Asia, Latin America, Africa or Europe, as the case may be. I welcome you once again. Today we will be looking at startup capital. Remember, in the past we did address issue of the qualities of an entrepreneur and the nature, or how do you even identify which business one should get involved, and quite a number of other sections that we discuss about the differences between the sizes of business, micro, small, medium scale entrepreneurs. Today we will be looking at startup capital. Now, I will say startup capital can be defined as the nucleus, the seed capital that one requires to commence a business in any sector of the economy. Startup capital naturally differ from one type of business to another, and from one size of business to another. There are businesses that you can start small. There are businesses that you cannot start small. It has to be fairly big. Let's look at types of businesses just within few seconds. If you are to start a national bank, for example, you require minimum of 250 billion naira. Now, this is not small amount of money. If you want to start, say, a micro bank, or what we call micro bank in Nigeria, you need probably 50 million, 100 million. Again, you might look at, when compared to say 250 billion with 100 million or 50 million, 50 million is small amount of money. But you will go a little further down. If I were to start, say, a fresh juice making small business, so I just need a small blender. I need to buy bottles that I can just crush oranges, crush pineapple, or crush watermelon. I do like 15, 20, 30 bottles per day. How much money do I require? Maybe less than a million naira. So startup capital differs from fundamentally 2 or 3 levels. Number one, the nature of the business you are getting involved. Of course, startup capital in oil and gas industry, in banking industry, and in other spheres of manufacturing endeavors is not small amount of money. Startup capital in manufacturing concern, let's look at soap making. Again, smaller than, say, a bank, smaller than, say, an oil and gas, or smaller than telecommunication, but still not too small for just anybody to get involved. But if we were to say, I want to start a sewing business, or I want to start a photography business, how much money do I require? Maybe a small amount of money to rent a small shop. Or if I were to start a barbering salon, how much money do I require? So the nature of the services you intend to render, the nature of the product you intend to produce and sell determines the quantum of startup capital that you require for the business. Now, like I did say, the smaller the nature of the business, the smaller the amount of capital. And I think more often than not, most individuals wanting to start business tend to get discouraged that even if I want to start business, I don't have the startup capital. Who will get me the startup capital? To my mind, that is what I can say, a defeatist attitude. My dear brothers and sisters, get it from us that don't ever look at startup capital as a militating factor against your success. First, start with what is the nature of product I intend to produce? What is the nature of services I intend to render? Now, we will in the near future look at, sourcing financing, sourcing capital for businesses, whether micro, small, medium, or large enterprises. There are multiplicity of sources of capital. These we will address, and I urge you to keep a date with us. This segment will continue to come to you every now and then, and you will be the beneficial person if you keep a date with us. We do not intend to break this series, and we welcome your feedback. Check us on our social media handles, whether Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or even the website of Ames Media Service. You will get a lot of information, this episode, the back episode, and we will appreciate that you keep a date with us, you keep watching us.
The program is the Magnet. I hope you took some tips from that mentoring segment. And that is what this program is all about, mentoring on television and lending a voice to the growth of your business. I still have with us here Dr. Bashir Ushudi, the Chief Executive Officer of Trust Auto. Thank you for joining us again.
A pleasure.
What exactly is ethical finance?
Ethical finance can be defined in various ways, depending on the perception of the speaker, or of the analyst, right? So I remember at the time, if you look at it from the Western economies, when I say ethical finance, they're referring to finance that doesn't embark on certain or deal with certain products. For example, alcohol, to a very large extent, tobacco, and anything that affects the environment negatively, right? And so even in Nigeria, there's a time that a particular company, fundamental company, had ethical finance, and they still have it, and that was the design, right? Anything, of course, ammunition. There's a bank out of London also. They only do ethical finance, right? And for them, but they do interest-based ethical finance. Interest-based ethical finance. So again, they've taken out ammunition, they've taken out tobacco and alcohol and all of those things that can hurt the environment. That's what they've done there. Yeah, so if you look at it from that broad perspective, it's fine. Others can define it further to say, do you know what? We can have finance that's based on certain heritage. It could be cultural heritage, And we've done a lot of research in Zimbabwe and certain African countries. And I found out that, hey, the division of ethical finance or the division of money is quite different. Where for them, they've looked at certain, ethical principles that they have to define finance, which is amazing. I go to the Middle East, again, it's different. So, again, it depends on the perception of the...
You're looking at it.
Yeah, you're looking at it. I can define it in my own way. And so for me, ethical finance also is non-interest finance. Because I can argue that it encompasses all the forms of ethical finance into one massive basket. Yes, no alcohol, no tobacco, no ammunition, no interest-based system, no anything, no pornography,
Moral.
Everything moral in all ramifications. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that would be my own definition of
interesting. Sounds very interesting. You are even Mr. Non-interest way back, But let's look at it. We're talking of this finance space now. How ethical are practitioners?
Yes, to a very large extent, because in the case of non-interest finance specifically, if you don't mind, because we also have one additional factor, which is Sharia Governance. Because of that, it then means you're going to be ruled within the confines of this concept, if you like, called Sharia. So it means that naturally you have to be ethical. At least within the office or practical environment in terms of what you can do, what you cannot do, Again, do we want to relate that to the way ladies dress? Maybe not. Do I want to relate that to the way you probably speak You know, maybe not. You know, then because I'm from a strong research background, I'm going to be looking at different views, right? So
Globally.
yes,
You are a
globally.
global.
Yes,
That's why
yes.
it's been difficult to
I
grab
started to
you.
learn Islamic finance from the UK, and every time I attended programs, I'll be the only black guy. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is that most of them will be white, and all the ladies there are just wearing their regular clothes, but they understand Islamic finance. And the guys there attending after the program doesn't mean they won't go to the next pub to have a drink. You know
Or
what I
just to
mean?
acquire the knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes, it's funny, but there may be a difference between your own personal behavior and Islamic finance. Again, some scholars will not agree with me. Again, the practice is what we're concerned about.
In terms of ethical Islamic, you have invested so much in yourself, traveling globally to acquire this knowledge. But those you put on the desk for people to relate with, customers, how literate, how financially literate are they?
Look, I want to borrow the 21 from the works of John Maxwell, 21 laws of leadership. A leader must create leaders, right? On the one hand. On the other
Succession
hand,
plan.
leaders should also create followers. There's also a law of magnetism. The law that allows you to attract people, right? So what I mean by that is, the easiest way, you have to replicate yourself in other people. Or else you've done nothing, right?
Human capital.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. Yeah. So what? To the best of my knowledge, I can boastfully say this, that those I've worked with in the last 13, 14 years in Islamic finance, many of them that did not have a chance to take any course are very sound.
You have become an institution.
So I tell you, don't worry, even if you don't take any course in it, just let's work together.
Okay.
Naturally, if you like, the spirit of entrepreneurship and of knowledge will sink into your system, right? Of course, a lot of people have also been encouraged to go for additional research or studies. Because again, a lot of my colleagues, usually when they look at me, they're like, okay, they also want to go and do programs. So I've had a lot of my colleagues, in fact, a handful, that have gone to do PhDs, right? Others have taken master's courses. They will always do that. They will also encourage them to do certification so that they can, if you like, be better. Like one of my bosses would tell us, yes, that you employ those that are better than you. You don't want to employ those that are better than, because you're going to be doing the work. You don't want to do all the work. Yeah, so to a very large extent, there's a lot of, if you like, knowledge sharing.
Cross-fertilization of ideas.
Exactly. So that needs to be consistent. And that's what I think for me I've done quite well.
Yes.
And we're still in the middle of it. So what we try to encourage a lot of our other colleagues is to ensure that a lot of knowledge is shared, adequately.
Okay. How do you begin to educate people to make them have this knowledge of, yes, Islamic finance, ethical finance, it benefits all?
On the one hand, you don't have to be a Muslim to understand Islamic finance, right? And in fact, you don't have to be a Muslim to even be a Sharia scholar. So the good thing is that central bank, in their wisdom, when they were releasing the guidelines for advisory committee of experts, they put a few conditions there. You must understand and speak classical Arabic. They didn't say you must be a Muslim.
Irrespective.
Yes, you must have gone to a formal educational institution, right? You must understand fiqh, muamalat, Islamic commercial jurisprudence. And you shouldn't be a shareholder. Those are the four principal things, areas. They've not said they didn't say you must be a man. They didn't say you must be a Muslim. They didn't put anything like that. Exactly. Yeah. So one of our great Sharia scholars in Nigeria, one of the banks, is an American, white American, right? Yes. At the end of the day, yes. Over time, he probably became a Muslim, which is fine. But white American. In another part of the world, you see loads of people in the advisory committees. They're not from the same faith that you'll have expected them to be, our faith. And so it's irrelevant. The function of that knowledge base.
Final way, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I mean, to a very large extent, a lot of the non-interest financial institutions have tried to reduce their charges so they can be competitive, right? So one of the main strategies in business is differentiation and pricing. they try to play well in these two spaces, you know. To say, okay, on the one hand, we'll reduce our price, on the other hand, our product is unique and different. And so the charges in non-just financial is a lot less. A lot less. In fact, there are even added charges, you know, and that's why I can see that growth. And again, by the time we talk next time, you're going to be seeing the spikes in the growth, the sharpness that we're going to be experiencing within the next few years, which has happened in the global space, which is also, of course, taking place in Nigeria.
I'm sure some people like you will take credit for that.
Yeah. I mean, the credit is going to be to everybody.
You paid your dues. You have to be modest.
You can't do it all alone. You need people around you to help out.
Particularly as the president of
NIFIAM.
That's the MAGNATE today. I'm sure. I told you at the beginning, he's a guru in this space. We are not done with him. We have captured him. We want to expunge all that knowledge he has there, and then so that we can share it with you. He's been the MAGNATE, he's mentoring on television, he's lending a voice to the growth of our businesses. Let's do this again same time next week when we shall bring him back. Yes, another topic related. Remember to follow us on our various social media handles, and a repeat broadcast of this program will also be on our YouTube channel. It will be shared with you. Join us same time next week. We shall bring you another very, very important. We're still running a series on ethical finance. See you then. Bye for now.